this review doesn't contain any spoilers. When it comes to the Alien and Predator franchise, of which I'm a big fan of, even though when you think about it, there's only really 3 or 4 good films, I feel like I've repeatedly gone through all these stages of grief. First comes the sudden shock and denial, like thinking to yourself, no, there's no way Ridley Scott is saying that the xenomorphs are a product of a psycho-robot's experiments. Then comes the excruciating pain, the anger, the depression, but then the acceptance and upward turn of hope in that they'll get it right in the next film. And of course they don't, and the cycle repeats. It's difficult to think of a franchise that's been ravaged as much as the Alien and Predator one. Fox have made poor decision after poor decision. They had very little to do with why the original movies were great in the first place, and recently it's like fans can't catch a break, whether it's AVPR, the Colonial Marines games, or Prometheus. Some quality stuff has been released though, like the Isolation video game and the Fire and Stone comics. And with the news that 80s and 90s action movie darling Shane Black, and star of the original film, was behind the camera directing, there was reason to hope. Saying that though, I went into The Predator with absolutely zero expectations. I lowered and lowered until I convinced myself that I would be watching utter crap and approached the film with this mindset. Critics in general weren't kind to the movie, and the general consensus seems to be that the film started strong until it slowly descended into a maddening combination of chaos and absurdity. And I agree with that assessment. It's fair to say The Predator was a very enjoyable movie for the most part. It starts with a bang, wisely ditching the slow build-up of previous films since we all know now what the Predators look like and what they're all about. The movie had some good scenes scattered throughout and in general has a strong first and second act. There's a specific scene, I think around maybe an hour and 10-minute scene, when a major player in the movie is bumped off. And it's literally right after that specific scene that I think the film takes a shockingly massive nosedive, and it's insane, right up until the very last shot, how anyone thought that the third act was a good conclusion to the movie. I honestly can't believe the filmmakers watched the entire film and thought the third segment, the last portion of the movie, was even decent, coherent filmmaking. I understand there were issues behind the scenes. They removed a subplot involving predators teaming up with humans, they reshot the third act, they had problems in general. But look, Apocalypse Now had problems too, if you see what I mean. So we start with a pretty jarringly in-your-face dogfight in space, resulting in a predator ship crashing onto Earth and it being captured and examined in a lab after a very entertaining skirmish with some soldiers in a Mexican jungle. Boyd Holbrook plays a soldier who's involved in the duel and is put on a bus to probably be sent away to his death so the secret alien visit doesn't get out to the public. He meets a ragtag group of loony soldiers who make up much of the supporting cast on the bus that he's put onto. The Predator escapes the lab, the soldiers get caught up in the chase after it, and the film kinda takes it from there. Holbrook is sufficient as the leading man. He's not spectacular and at times threatens to turn into a wooden plank. But the snappy dialogue Black provides him with makes him likeable enough. I like the PTSD crew, or the Loonies as they're known. The banter between them was very funny. They make a good group, and I especially liked Keegan-Michael Kay's offbeat, quirky character who brought some real energy to the film. The casting all around was okay. Nobody really took the film by the scruff of its neck and made it theirs. There's no really unforgettable characters like Mac or Billy in the original, but they all did an okay job, I guess. I just feel it was a little lightweight overall in the acting department, a little B-movie-ish. I know Black was chasing big names like Benicio del Toro, and actors like that would have changed the entire film. One guy I didn't particularly like was Sterling K. Brown. I just couldn't get out of my head that this guy looks so much like Chris Rock, that Chris Rock is in a Predator film. His character I thought was quite complex. He's the head of some top secret Predator surveillance team or whatever, and he kind of balances the line between a man looking for the answers to the universe's secrets and furthering of humanity, to sadistic power-hungry moron willing to murder the innocent to achieve his goal. Brown plays him like a simpleton though, even going as far as to cackle like a 60s Bond villain when threatening a kid. There are several silly moments in the first two acts, namely things like a kid using a real predator mask as a Halloween mask and a predator signaling thumbs up with the dead guy's severed arm. But overall, you really get the sense that, hey, this isn't so bad. The predator's design is cool, he's a far more sleek and technologically advanced predator than we're used to. The action is coherent, bloody, small-scaled and relatable. The story is simple, but that's for the best. A couple of dumb moments doesn't deter from the fact that this movie starts with some thrilling action and doesn't let up. It's not the same tone as the original, but if you're simply looking for a remake, just watch the first film, or Predators, which I always thought was a bit of a crap remake of the original movie. If the movie had continued like this, I would have ended up walking away liking it. Heck, they could have drawn out the chase scenes and just had the entire film be about the soldiers chasing the Predator down. Pretty much a movie with a non-existent story, and I would have liked it. However, then the ultimate Predator, who cameoed here and there throughout, shows up properly, and this is where it starts to go all horribly wrong. It really is like the third act was made by someone pulled off the set of a recent Transformers flick or something. It was really mind-boggling how different and just plain bad everything suddenly got. Firstly, the special effects, which weren't brilliant to begin with, become the Mummy Returns level quality. The CGI becomes spectacularly bad, like it wasn't even finished. The Ultimate Predator, which we're told is some kind of hybrid twice the size of a normal Predator, is done completely with CGI, shoddy CGI at that. So we go from our antagonist being a man in a suit, one who moves in ways we can recognize, to an intangible collation of pixels with the rubber-like tosspot prancing around all over the place. He brings along with him two alien dogs with dreadlocks for some reason, and again they are done with piss-poor CGI. I mean, you can't expect audiences to get invested into the action when the thing chasing the characters clearly isn't really there and looks like it walked out of a SpongeBob episode. The hounds from the last movie were far superior as well to the dogs in this one. The dogs in this one actually play fetch and catch and things like that. I mean, what's all that about? And the Ultimate Predator, he's just a crap character all round. I touched in my video called What's With All the Hybrids in Movies Today that it seems like creatively void filmmakers are moving on to the bigger, badder version of our favourite monsters as the new trend, and the Predator has one of the worst examples. He doesn't look real at all, like a PS2 character, and seems to be playing a PS2 game of his own, aimlessly dispatching foes with a single shot of his wrist blaster. He sees with the classic Predator heat vision with some Terminator plugins, and that's without even using a mask. His body is bulletproof, he has super duper strength, and yet of course when he does meet his end, it is an unsatisfying and anticlimactic last hurrah to what we're told is a magnificent creature, a hybrid of all the universe's most dangerous creatures. When it took the likes of Apollo Creed and John Matrix to take out a normal Predator in the original, and then only just. It just becomes a CGI fest towards the end. Characters start dropping like flies, but you've already stopped caring because nothing looks real. We went from small-scaled action to clinging onto spaceships as they attempt to launch into space. It reminds me of Alien Covenant. Speaking of which, the Predator commits the fanboy rage-inducing sin of retconning the established lore after the fact, to the point that now the entire reason for Predators visiting Earth, including the city and jungle hunters, is changed to something far less sinister as the world's best sport hunters looking for worthy prey, to something a lot more generic. These guys just never learn, do they, these filmmakers? Just leave well enough alone. And that's not all, because all of a sudden it seems like the filmmakers stopped caring about how unique and exclusive the Predators are. The creatures lose a lot of respect and fear when you start seeing humans run around with shoulder cannons and shurikens. And the ending, the very final scene of the film, was simply insulting. A horrible way to set up a sequel, and something I assume was supposed to make fans, especially younger fans of superhero films and such, excited for future installments. But in fact it was suicide-inducing. I don't know what they were thinking with the final scene. It renders the Predator's culture and refined technology as nothing. If you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And not to mention, like most of the third act, it looked horribly fake. If you are going to make a sequel to a beloved film, don't change established things that fans love. It's simple as, just don't. The change of reasoning of the Predator's visits brings up several plot holes as well, and a confusing retrospect of the smaller Predator, the one that's known as the Rogue Predator, whose actions now often seem completely contrary to his mission. See, there was a good film going for a while, but it didn't last. The retconning of Predator mythos induced flashbacks to Ridley Scott's recent works, and the gore looked fake, and everything about the Ultimate Predator was just stupid, thus resulting in a very uneven film. I give it a 5 out of 10.